This was a good week of chapters with One Piece returning, and so we're going to be starting off with One Piece, chapter 1032, and this was a good chapter with, once again, the pace being extremely fast and a lot of things going on, from character reveals, new partners in fights, and new abilities being kind of revealed. From the start, where you have it that Apu and Drake are forced to team up and verse the CP0 agents, as well as the giant flame specter that's continuously moving down. So now Yamato and the Number, who's infatuated with Yamato, are now going down to try to, I guess, stop the armory, but then also stop the giant flame specter, so that'll be interesting. Zoro is still versing King, and Oda continues his egregious use of not knowing what the hell dinosaurs can actually do and making up new powers for them, and the fight continuing, going back and forth. There are a lot of things that Zoro is struggling with, from the fact that King has flames burning on his back and wings that aren't his pterodactyl wings, or his pterodon wings. So Zoro's struggling to figure out what to do when Enma ends up taking his energy in his arm again, meaning I guess he's losing control or something. And the final piece of the chapter is the fact that we finally get to see that Komurasaki is in fact on Onigashima, so it is as good as confirmed that she was the one who helped the Red Scabbards back when they were near dying in the hallway, and she brought them to the cupboard they were in. Now, my theory with her being here is that she is going to be the one to kill Orochi once and for all, whether it be a shot to the head or finally cutting off all of his heads, whatever. Having it that a Kozuki kills Orochi and finally avenge Odin. That's what I'm assuming. There's been 3 deaths of Orochi, and each one has progressively gotten more satisfying, with the first one just being the shock that he quote-unquote died, the second that the Red Scabbards did it, and this one will be the final one that's a lot more personal. This was a good chapter. Overall, I think I'll give it a B. It was good and very fast-paced, as many of the One Piece chapters are, though I find that this one just didn't have anything super outstanding that makes it over the top. There was, again, good moments between all the fights, and the fact that it's too hard to predict which fights are going to end up in which way, like the fact that Apu and Drake now are teaming up to take on CP0 as Robin and Brook finally run away once again. It's just too all over the place to fully comprehend what's going to happen. And the race to finish all the battles before the island explodes is still pretty good, and I wonder which is going to happen first. Either Orochi's death by Komurasaki, King and Zoro finishing their fight, Queen and Sanji, Luffy and Kaido, Big Mom versus Law and Kid. All these fights are very pivotal, but I don't know if any of them are going to finish before the end of the act, quote unquote, before the end of Onigashima, as it either explodes because the armory finally blows up, or if it crashes because Kaido can't hold on to the island and Momo fails. So now we're on to Black Clover, chapter 314, and this was a good chapter. Having it that most of the heroes seem to have won by this point, having Marioliana defeating the giant devil she's been fighting the whole time, and her going after most of the other lower level demons. With the Doctor fully defeated, most of the others who have arrived with the remaining Black Bulls start going down to try to rescue Vengeance and Yami, only for Lucifero to completely accelerate the Doctor's body and grow the tree to the 2nd level, causing the 2nd level to open and most of the demons to pour out. Even then, Lucifero continues by having it that he can manipulate the lower level demons, and he combines all of them into a giant mass of monsters and ends up creating a giant tentacle monster that he controls, meaning he kind of enters the fray early, though it doesn't seem as though this will be his final form. It'll end up stalling them for time as they can't get to Yami fast enough. However, most of the Black Bulls continue on their course and completely retransform the Black Bull's house into a enormously giant version, and so we're going to have a mecha versus kaiju battle between the Black Bull's ultra giant Black Bull house versus Lucifero in giant monster form. It'll be great to see how ridiculous this gets. As, like I said, it's a giant mech versus a kaiju, and it's ridiculous. It's great. So I hope that battle goes on for quite a while as Lucifero stalls for time and eventually they can't save Yami. Like I said, I could see them winning and Lucifero being a constant thorn in their side, but I can also see them losing. So at this point now, I'm very curious just to see which method they decide to choose, win or lose. So overall, I think I'm going to give this chapter a B. It was good. It had good hope and the fact that Lucifero continues to be a very scary villain, despite being undermined by the fact that the Black Bulls can make a giant mech out of the former castle as well as their own house. It's ridiculous, but Lucifero continues to be terrifying and have his power be quite potent, to the point that it doesn't seem like anything can really stop him. So I'm curious to see how he gets the upper hand again in the next chapter. Now we're on to Undead Unluck chapter 88, and this was a good chapter. I'm still debating on whether it's a great chapter or not, as we see that Fuko wins the card game, gaining the full-on upper hand and continuing to use her Unluck ability to continue to strike down Spring whenever she needs to, and continues to connect with Spring as she gets more of the cards, gaining the upper hand on the game that they're playing, all the way up to the final card, where we then get to see some more of Spring's backstory. The fact that the last card is a Sheen's card, and it triggers that flashback where we see that Spring was always a better type of Uma who didn't really want to hurt people. However, because God is mean in this world, God would never let him become friends with humans. We see that he is a good type of Uma, in a manner of speaking, that maybe all of them could be, but not many of them are. And Spring does not want to fight Fuko any further. However, God is not allowing him to just be docile and is fully taking over, and so Spring asks Fuko to kill him, to stop him. So it'll be interesting to see how she's able to pull that off and what the final game is. Like I said, it felt more like it was going to become more of a one-on-one between Spring and Fuko in the end, and it looks like we're about to probably get it, but it looks closer to God versus Fuko than Spring versus Fuko. So overall, I think I'll give that chapter a B. I think it was good and explained quite a bit and showed how powerful Fuko's become and confident she's become in her own ability, no longer fearing it but using it to its fullest. I'm curious to see what the next stage of the fight is and where it goes, simply because with the way things are going with Shonen Jump, I have a bad feeling that it could be the end, but that's just me being extremely pessimistic. I don't think it's anywhere near close to being over, so next week should just be the end, or at least the beginning of the end of this particular arc. Like I said, Under will disappear or join forces with the Union, but that remains to be seen. Now we're on to Mashle, Magic and Muscles, chapter 86, and this was a good chapter for Lance, showing how much Mash means to Lance, and the fact that Lance and him are in fact friends, and that Lance does care about Mash. We also get to see that the villain side of the characters are absolutely ridiculous. It's hard to explain the amount of lunacy that happens in these chapters. From the fact that the villain that Lance is versing is a mama's boy and Lance is a sister complex, and both are calling each other weird, but then also there's not much you can say. It's ridiculous, but very entertaining. Their battle is just a game of whack-a-mole, and Lance at first is too slow to strike the mole. However, eventually he's able to pull off the feat through a level of loophole that he would pull off. Again, we get some more backstory-ish, where we see that him and Mash have connected to a degree, and that Lance plans on saving Mash in whatever way he can, and more or less he kind of gets the upper hand in the fight here, Lance does, against his opponent. So we should get that resolved next week, as Dot is pretty much in trouble, as Lance left Dot to fight Rose Quartz on his own. So Dot is either full-on dead right now, or he's running around screaming and trying not to die, as Lance takes care of this guy as quickly as he can to go back and help Dot. Overall, I think I'll give this chapter a B. It was good, it was entertaining, it was silly, it was Mash. It was Mashle, and I look forward to seeing whatever wacky shenanigans happen in the next chapter, seeing as how this one is getting more and more ridiculous with time. So now we're on to Sakamoto Days, chapter 48, and this was a pretty great chapter, seeing as how we learned more about who and what a part is, as well as the fact that Sakamoto is still continuing to grow stronger in his base form, which is always fun to see as they continue to fight on the steel beams, clearly being quite evenly matched by this point. And then we get, again, the Apart backstory, seeing as how Apart was always a bit different from everyone and a bit shy before his anger and hate at being ignored kind of spills over into serial killer territory, where he ends up cutting up things just to see what the inside looks like, and he finally feels that he understands things by learning what is in the inside of people. His father is concerned, and we see his first human kill, and things go south for Apart from there. Sakamoto does not agree with this ideology of his, and they get more entangled in their fight, and we learn that in the back of the serial killer's kill lists was actually each other. They were supposed to kill each other in the end, potentially, which was super interesting, and we get to see what their grades were, with Saw being the worst of them, Dump being only slightly better, and the bigger guy being above the other two. However, it is revealed that Apart was the highest amongst them by a pretty wide margin, so of course Sakamoto's versing the strongest one of these serial killers, as he himself is quote-unquote the weakest of the assassins. And Apart starts to show his true power as he cuts many of the steel beams, because now he's very upset with Sakamoto. Sakamoto, however, is also getting more peeved off and decides to end the fight as quickly as he can. It'll be very interesting to see if my theory about Sakamoto not killing Apart ends up leading to his downfall, as I can see that the serial killer X, the main villain of the series, comes by and picks up Apart after Sakamoto beats him, and then Apart stays a member of whatever X's group is called to cause all sorts of problems for Sakamoto. Sakamoto revenge hate group, if you will. So that'll be very interesting to see how this fight ends, and I very much look forward to seeing how it does. So that was all of the major chapters. This was a good week. The main theme between pretty much all of the chapters is everyone's struggling as much as they can to just keep going with what they're doing. So that's sort of what the theme of all of them are. Each one struggling with their fights, and each one struggling with whatever they need to do. So now on to the other chapters that I read. My hero was fine with Shigaraki getting away and Star and Stripe not quite being able to completely kill Shigaraki, as it seems as though her power was finished, like tearing him apart after she finally fully died. So I don't know whether he had the power or what, but it bought the heroes a week, and now they get to use that week to prepare more for the final battle between Shigaraki and the Hero Society. I'm not looking forward to that because it's going to be a mess, and it'll end unsatisfactorily, I predict, and the series will end up just being a big disappointment, is what I'm going to put my money on. Jujutsu Kaisen was good. It continues its fight with Itadori and the lawyer, as the lawyer can't bring himself to attack and kill Itadori because he knows the truth that Itadori wasn't the one to kill all the people in the Shibuya incident, but Itadori still feels responsible because he wasn't strong enough. And so him and the lawyer, him and the lawyer sit down finally, and the lawyer plans on helping Itadori. Then it's Mission Yazakura family. It was good, surprisingly quick with their opponent, the second head of the Yazakura family, as it seems as though the villain group that they're versing this time is digging up old members of the Yazakura family and implanting their, now deceased in many of their cases, bodies with whatever magical blood that the first Yazakura head has overflowing in her body. So the fact that the second head was so powerful in the fact that she was able to handle Futaba so easily shows that there's going to be probably a major training, quote-unquote, arc coming soon, because none of them are going to be able to stop the other members of the villain team. We then had Blue Box. It was fine, more romance stuff, nothing really to talk about, as the love triangle is getting more and more triangulated and scrambled at this point. Pianist series is continuing its intriguing direction, though again, I wouldn't be surprised if it's cut at any point, but I think it actually has quite the fun potential. And I look forward to seeing whatever their plan is for next week, where the main character and his brother will fight, quote unquote. So it'll be interesting. I hope it's entertaining, and I hope the series continues outside of whatever timeline it probably has, given the fact that it's a creative idea. And Yashimun continues its great momentum by having it that the main character is an idiot. And the main woman character, the future head of the syndicate, we learned more about her and the fact that she finds the main character disposable. It makes the whole series have a lot more intrigue in it. So I'm looking forward to that continuing its good run so far, and hopefully it doesn't get canceled quickly. So that was all of the chapters. Like I said, they were all very good, from the major chapters that I cover with their struggles to the minor chapters where they all had their own struggles within their struggles. So like I said, this was a good week. Everything flowed really well, and I enjoyed everything. Quick thing, this will probably come out on Thanksgiving, so if you celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and as always, thank you for watching.